The Walking Dead Season 7 and 8 make or break the show in many people's eyes, but for me, they are up there with Seasons 3 and 4 as some of the greatest Walking Dead moments we have ever got. So here are my ideas for the future, but before we get into the video, make sure to subscribe so you don't get eaten by that walker. So, I've just said that these two are up there as some of the best seasons we have got with Seasons 3 and 4. Now I know that some of you guys will be saying, what about Season 5? What about Season 2? Those are my favourite seasons. I would probably rank those two as the two highest. And then I'd rank Seasons 3 and 4 arcs and Season 7 and 8 arcs as the second best series. And then I'd probably put Season 1 after that. And I'll tell you about Season 9, Season 10 and Season 11 in a future episode. So what sets would we like to see? For Season 7, I've picked some sets maybe you will agree with, maybe you won't, but I am not going back to revisit Negan's circle scene. Now, I already visited that in the last episode we did at the end of Season 6. Now, obviously that carries over into the first episode of Season 7 where, you know, Abraham and Glenn actually do die. We finally see that in Season 7. But I'm not going to do that in a set now. The only ones I've done for Season 7 are 3 sets. Now, I think the Kingdom is a really important set to do. I think you would include the King, Jerry, Carol, and young Henry, and possibly his brother as well, which would obviously have enemy saviors around that as well. But the Kingdom is a marking point and changing point where Rick actually believes he can fight off the saviors when they come and save him from Negan at the end of the series. I definitely think they should be doing the Sanctuary, the Kingdom, sorry. I can't spoil the next one, but yeah, definitely the Kingdom. I think that it was really cool to see the King. I would love to see the Tiger as well. I can't quite remember his name. He does die because I don't think they could afford to pay it anymore, the CGI for that, but definitely the Kingdom. Now next up, I just said it, it's the Sanctuary. Now, the Sanctuary is a really cool, like I said, they could do. Now, it kind of follows Negan's arc and Eugene's arc throughout these two series. But Daryl obviously escaped. And I would also include Negan in that. And I'd include Simon in that. I'd include Sasha in that. And I'd include Dwight in that as well. Obviously, Sasha gets captured. And then she obviously, you know, she basically kickstarts Negan losing that battle at Alexandria, retreating to the Sanctuary and getting stuck with a bunch of walkers. But I'd love to see a Sanctuary set with those characters. Good way to get everyone in as well. Now, I would also do Negan visiting Alexandria. Now, you could do this in stages where he visits and he kills many people at the same time, or you could even go as far forward as the ending battle there. Now, I would do it when he comes back with Carl and Rick sees him and stuff like that, and Carl obviously talks to him, and then Negan actually threatens to kill Carl. He almost does it, but I always, never realised if Negan would have ever actually gone through with killing Carl, or would have just made them sweat even more, because he actually really liked Carl. You could tell when Carl died that Negan had some love for Carl. So I definitely think that Negan visiting Alexandria has to be a set at some point. Even with 3 characters, it would be very, very cool. So next up then for Season 8, I'm kickstarting this with Oceanside. Now, I kind of would love to have all of the different ones. I talked about Hilltop in the last one. I talked about Alexandria in more detail in the last one. An Oceanside and a Sanctuary and a Kingdom would just mark together everything I would want in a Walking Dead set. Now, I know lots of you bring up these Walking Dead buildable things, but they really didn't continue them properly after Season 3 or 4. They sort of did Daryl on his bike a few seasons later, but they didn't do stuff like this. So definitely an Oceanside, and I've picked Nathania, who obviously dies, Cindy, Rachel, and Tara. So that would definitely be a set I would want to see, and a set we need to see as well. Now, perhaps a sad one, and perhaps one that many of you didn't agree with, and this is probably the turning point for me in The Walking Dead, where it kind of went sour, it kind of went bad, and I kind of just thought, right, let's put this into kind of just create more excitement because I worried people weren't liking the series so much, and that's Carl's death. Now, obviously you could include Enid, Carl, and Sadiq. Now, Sadiq obviously is the one who kind of causes Carl's death a little bit, and Enid is the one who's kind of around Carl at this point the whole time. So definitely would include Enid, Carl, and Sadiq. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't included a lot of main characters. Rosita, Michonne, to name two of them, in any of these sets. Now, obviously, if Walking Dead ever became a Lego theme, or if I make mocks of it, I would obviously have all of those characters in the circle of Negan that I mentioned in the previous episode for this series. Now, I hate this moment. I think Carl's death was, I was never going to stop watching the series, but I think it was just one of those moments where you could obviously see that the writers really didn't have a direction to go in. Like, why would you bring Carl this far along to destroy him? And maybe that's linked to why Andrew Lincoln left the show and other stuff as well. But I would definitely do a Carl's death. It's probably the most symbolic and saddest death for me. He literally spends a whole episode writing to everyone, leaving notes from him, and then it all makes them very emotional and very sad as well. Now, I know a lot of people probably say that Glenn is the saddest death, or when they kill off Glenn, or that was kind of obvious. I mean, Glenn dies in the comics. It was kind of obvious he was going to die. They were obviously going to kill off a big main character who's been in the show for a long time. They're not going to kill off Maggie because whenever anyone, well, apart from Laurie, but whenever anyone becomes pregnant on the show, either they will die in birth, but they would never die before that, because the symbolic thing is that they're having a child, so that child's kind of the one replacing Glenn as well. So for the final two sets, it's kind of very similar. I've got Negan versus Simon Showdown. I think that would be a really, really cool set. And I've also got the Negan versus Rick Showdown. So one of those two I would definitely do. I think Negan versus Simon's one is way more epic, because Simon's kind of rebelling against Negan the whole of this series. And I would definitely like to see a Negan versus Rick Showdown as well. Maybe you could use Michonne in that, or maybe you couldn't, but it would definitely be very, very cool to see one of those two. Now, my honourable mention actually is the Siege on Hilltop. Now, I haven't talked about Hilltop in this, but I really like that episode where Simon and Dwight go to Hilltop for a siege on it, and it's really, really cool. So obviously the Saviors failed to take Hilltop, but in season whatever it is it season 9, season 10, when they try to defend Hilltop, it just gets burned to the ground by the Walkers and obviously Alpha and stuff like that. So I think that shows the difference between the Saviors, and which I will talk about in my next episode. So thank you guys for watching. What sets would you guys like to see? I know what sets I would like to see, and let me know your ranking for the Walking Dead series, because this is probably where most people start ranking 9, 10, 11. But I would definitely, I'll put it down in the comments, and you guys can reply and see what guys would put. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.